It's another episode of The Hub, and a particularly busy one, as the industry has been fairly active on both sides of the Atlantic. Let's start with the news that Hayden Deegan will race the third round of WSX in Australia on the Gold Coast. This is particularly poignant, as you know that the AusX Open would have wanted Deegan for their event. So for WSX to get him on Australian soil says quite something about perhaps the credibility of WSX, or the way it's at least gaining some consistency and admiration in the industry. I don't know what words you want to use, but this is a step forward despite the recent cancellation of the first round in Malaysia. Deegan is of course already committed to Argentina and now Australia as well, so he will race 2 of the 5 rounds, and this will be the first time that he's gone international. What does remain to be seen is whether he will be on a 250 or a 450. The initial announcement for Argentina specified the SX2 class. However, in the Australian announcement, there is no class specified, and more I hear murmurs that the Argentina announcement was wrong, and Deegan will in fact be racing a 450 when he does these WSX wildcards. Now, it's not official, perhaps it'll be a game day decision depending on how he feels and the strength in his collarbone, which of course we can't forget, but certainly interesting and something to keep an eye on. I mean, if Deegan's on a 450, WSX is going to get a lot more eyeballs, that is for sure. In silly season news, Colt Nichols has re-signed with the Twisted Tea Suzuki powered by Progressive Insurance team. Effectively, Nichols will be in the same situation that he was this year, and that's good for Nichols, who has had a very turbulent time of it since moving into the 450 class. With countless team swaps and misfortune, some stability will prove to be advantageous, I do believe, and that means he'll be sat alongside Jason Anderson and Ken Roxon. Good company. I don't believe that the team will add a 4th rider, so that should be it for the Suzuki effort in 2026 SMX. Hunter Yoda, in a similar vein to Nichols, has had his own up and down path since joining the professional ranks, but perhaps his new deal with the Club MX Yamaha team will be the thing to elevate him to another level. Yoda has joined the team from PRMX, and he completes their lineup of Maximus Volan, Devin Simonson, Cody Schock, and of course now Yoda. Yoda has shown a lot of potential, I think, in recent years. Great starts, impressive lap times at points. Perhaps the stability, the structure of Club MX will turn him into a top 5 regular. I certainly think he can get there in 250 Supercross. Outdoors is another story. He's been quite on the struggle bus outdoors, let's say. On the opposite end of the spectrum, KTM has bid farewell to Tom Vialle and Chase Sexton. Of course, this is no surprise, as both riders are well known to being on the move. Tom Vialle will join Honda HRC in MXGP, despite some calling me insane when I first announced that news, and Chase Sexton is of course en route to Monster Energy Kawasaki. Now, I do have some information on when both announcements will be announced. Vialle will come out the week before Paris, so mid-November, and Chase will come out at the beginning of November, so a little time to wait for updates, or official updates I should say, on those riders, but we know what they're doing. Jumping across to MXGP now, and Brian Bogers has announced his retirement from professional racing, simply stating that the reward does not outweigh the risk at this point in his career. He was not going to be re-signed at Fantic Factory Racing, so ultimately he decided to walk away. Bogers has actually had a very nice career. He came from nothing. I don't think that anyone ever expected him to be a GP winner in the Premier class, but he got there, and not only that, he backed it up at another GP with a moto win as well. Perhaps best known for being an incredible test rider, I think the way his career has developed since that very unfortunate time with Honda HRC, where taking that ride even made him quite a controversial name in the paddock, because a lot of people didn't believe that he deserved it, and then he had a near career-ending injury that meant he got no results except for a second place in one moto in Mantova in 2019, if memory serves me right. But those negative memories have been banished, I think, of what he's done since. So credit to Brian Bogers, and I hope that his career is celebrated in the fashion that it should be. Speaking of Fantic, by the way, they are in their own financial struggles, and recently announced their own restructuring, similar to what KTM did earlier this year. So perhaps I'll have more on that soon. Jago Geertz has also been announced as leaving Yamaha in a similar vein to Chase Sexton and KTM's KTM exits. Geertz spent 8 years at Yamaha, 2 years in the 450 class, and you have to feel for him. Yes, he's not really done anything since moving to the 450 class, but that has mainly been due to injury, and just like that, he's off the factory merry-go-round and has to look for something lower level. It looks as though he is going to join the beta team, especially based on photos that surfaced this week, but no official announcement on that yet. He did have interest from Fantic and Yamaha in Brazil as well. I'd expect we'll have a Geertz announcement by next week's episode of The Hub, I should say. What we do know now is that Beta have signed Rick Elzinga, and Elzinga was bumped out of MX2 because of the age rule, so it's nice for him to simply find a ride in the MXGP class, because it wouldn't have been too surprising if he just fell out of the paddock completely. In the official statement, Beta did confirm that they will have a more experienced lead rider next to Elzinga, which would fit Geertz perfectly. And actually, the PR did confirm that Ben Watson and Tom Cock are on the move. Ben Watson did have a 2-year deal until the end of 2026, but more will come out about that soon. He has got a deal for next year, or at least one that's very close to being done, and in my opinion it is a step up. So for the Ben Watson fans out there, I think they will be quite excited and encouraged by what Ben Watson is doing next. Stay tuned for that. In more MXGP news, Isaac Gifting has re-signed with the JK Racing Yamaha team, just with a little more support from Yamaha. So he will be in the same situation as last year. More support from Yamaha doesn't necessarily mean factory engines. For instance, I was told a month or two ago that Yamaha would pay for him to have a practice mechanic. So support can come in many different ways. It doesn't necessarily mean that he will be on a factory bike under a satellite team awning. But he does deserve whatever support he can get. He was a bright spot in an otherwise difficult year for Yamaha in MXGP. Now, I know it's old news, but there was some racing over the weekend, so let's quickly touch on that. Everyone knows that Dean Wilson and Lux Turner won their classes at round 1 of the AUS-X Supercross Championship, and maybe more under the radar is the fact that there was an international race at Valkenswaard in the Netherlands, and Kai de Wolf won it, beating Jeffrey Hurlings in the 450 class. Liam Everts was also on a 450 at this race, finishing 3rd. De Wolf and Hurlings swapped moto wins. De Wolf won the second moto, hence winning the overall. But by all accounts, De Wolf was extremely impressive, and so was Liam Everts. It's really quite exciting and has whet everyone's appetite for the 2026 MXGP season, when De Wolf will of course step up to the 450. And he may not be the only one. It's not confirmed or even decided at this point, but it does sound as though Andrea Adamo is leaning towards the MXGP class versus returning to MX2. So MXGP in 2026 could and should be just phenomenal. I mean, you're going to have Hurlings, Vial, Geyser, all on new teams, Fevre of the reigning champ, and then potentially Adamo on a 450 as a rookie alongside Kai de Wolf. It's just... the mind boggles at how good that season can be. The bad news is that the first round of MXGP is 126 days away. But in the meantime, we will have plenty of episodes of The Hub to keep you updated, entertained, and informed on everything that is going on in the world of motocross.